Hello, everyone, and welcome to this movie review of Taps from 1981. Not the remake, which is a gay fantasy, and quite frankly, I'm disgusted by. Like, I'm serious. I'm really disgusted by it. There's issues, glaring issues, especially with queer revisionism of history. And to me, that's an assault on my home. All right, that's an exploitation of position and power, and I despise that. I hate it. I hate being subjected to the directions of people that are not my equals. I'm not saying or implicitly stating that queer people are not my equals, because by the definition of the charter, they are. So I'm not going to say anything otherwise. And that's kind of a military way of saying, fuck off, I don't like you. I've had problems with you in the past, and they need to be resolved. And the way it's going to get resolved, you're not going to like it. It's not going to come to violence. I'm most certain of that, because I made a promise. I made a promise to someone. I said I was going to do this without violence. And so far, I think that I'm achieving that. So let's look at the main characters of Taps here, and their motivations, and why I empathize with these characters, and what made Taps so good. So let's go to I'm right in front of my computer here, but I'm not gonna put my face on this because I don't want it to be about me. I don't want this review. I don't want what I'm doing to be about me. I want it to be about those moments in which someone was taken advantage of or something was exploited just because it was there, not because they had the right to do so or they had the privilege to do so. You see these precipices on which people form their identities and their opinions, and then they go forth into this world, badgering everybody else that doesn't want to abide by that. And that's my problem. That's my problem with the LGBTQ people. It's a serious problem. And I'll tell you when it started, once we get into these characters. Just hold on. Yes, I'm making you sit through a few moments of silence. It's just like Taps. Now, this movie is very well done. It's of course Tom Cruise's first movie. I didn't know that. I didn't know much about this movie to begin with for a very long time. I suppose it wasn't time yet, because timing is everything, and it takes a great effort to herd cats and get everybody in line with something that you want to accomplish, especially children. But in a lot of ways, children are easier to direct than adults are. Okay, so we got Timothy Hutton as Brian Moreland, Ronnie Cox as Colonel. No, I'm not going to mention the adults. It's not, to me, it's not really about the adults. It's about the cadets. Sean Penn plays Alex Dwyer. Tom Cruise plays David Shawn. Like Pate, how you doing, man? Brandon Ward is played by Charlie Auden. Evan Handler is played by Edward West. It keeps going. There's at least there's 1, 2. There's 18 main characters that have screen time, right, with speaking roles. And I made a post on how Tom Cruise's character David, how I kind of felt like this guy. in my own years, because especially with like the drill and ceremonial stuff, and that's of great importance. That's the actual teaching of discipline, and it expands upon later in life, especially if you continue on with a military career, into drills within the field. Right, the marching army used to be dictated by the pace stick, right? But the military that we coexist with in this day and age is ruled by the micrometer, or should I say the GPS location, the GPS locator rather. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because the technology doesn't change who people are. It only alters our behavior. And when these boys were faced with an insurmountable challenge, they chose to rise to the occasion and seize the opportunity to become adults. And that's the real message of this, not the conflict, not the tragic ending or the strong arm tactics employed by the governor. Because the truth is that young people are smart, despite all the different backgrounds that they come from. And the truth is that we are not created equal. We don't come from the same backgrounds. We don't have the same education. And that was the beauty of the military, is that anyone within reason, of course, of the expectations and the requirements of military life, and then the job itself, requires a certain kind of culture. And that's a big thing especially within the Canadian military right now, within like the past, I don't know, 5 years or more. A lot of pressure is being put on the upper brass to get people to fall in, right, into formation, and to not expel, but to bring to the forefront the people that have been using their power and their privilege to go about upon their own their own modus operandi, to use the military and law enforcement, quite frankly, to get what they want out of the rest of society through extortion and through manipulation, and so on and so on, because they couldn't stand up to a fair fight in the first place. And then we have all these people that jump on the bandwagon because they want to fight for the underdog. And that's the reality of it. These, we'll call them men, quite frankly, even if they're like 6 years old. Because to face the wrong end of a barrel is real courage. And they took it upon these kids. Again, they're teenagers, the senior ones. We took it upon themselves to defend the institution that made them who they were, because they chose to be those people, and the environment that they were in fostered that. It wasn't about their genitals. It wasn't about trying to medicalize puberty, or to have this great waving flag of tolerance and acceptance. But when you tolerate everything and you accept everything, then what you're left with is the waste of those people. And I think that what I just said is more or less this movie, right? Because the greatest enemy of logic is finance. And I know that's a paradoxical statement, because finance is based on math. Math is numbers. Numbers are supposed to be easily understood and recognizable. Zero as a concept. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me that you love me more. Oh, teenage girls. Oh, Leslie. Hey, Leslie. Anyways, to more or less put it into focus, they did what had to be done. You know, it was a tragedy that started the whole thing, or it was a mistake that started the whole thing, a lapse in judgment, and then a tragedy, a mistake, right? Because old men become complacent, and especially they become set in their ways. And they're very prone to dedicating themselves to a cause because they have nothing else. In this movie, you know, the Brian, right? The cadet major says, "I don't have anything else. What else is there to do?" Right? And I get it. I really do. But the choice is to be made. You know, do I fight my own war, or do I fight someone else's? And when it came down to it, I chose to fight my own, because if I didn't, then the exploitation and the abuse would keep happening. And it's not like it was unspoken. People knew about it. Right? There was court cases over the years in secret FISA battles, and legislation was put through the UN, the Child Soldier Act, and so on and so forth, because of the fear of old men and of old women, quite frankly. There was this thing in the CAF. It was called the Purge. And the states did something like that recently too. And you know what? In both instances, my opinion stands that they were justified. If not for that individual's safety. Because of the arguments and the attitudes of the past. Now, I don't necessarily personally accept the attitudes and the treatment in the current day because of what I've seen and how I've been treated by other people. Because I grew up Christian. I went to a Catholic elementary school. I went to a Catholic high school. I was baptized Pentecostal. When I was a teenager, I was really conservative. I was hard up to fuck someone up. And I was happy to do it. I was happy to do it. And that's the danger, of course, with young people, is that they fight the wars of old men who are no longer connected to the battlefield itself. There's some personal anecdotes that I'm going to talk about now because I feel it's appropriate to do so. One of the people that I was in cadets with was also at my university, and they became a transgender. When I was a staff cadet, I was in charge of a mural, and I was verbally harassed by gay cadets. I gave them the business. I told them where my boundaries were. And then there was a transgendered officer, if not an NCO, at the camp at Blacktown in 2004. And they rolled up beside me and they threatened me. And this is real. You better goddamn believe it's real. And I've been sitting with this for fucking years. Just because I was there. And because I had talent. And they were jealous. And they sided with my ex-girlfriend because she cheated on me. Can you imagine that? That's what I was told as soon as I arrived. There were other instances that summer that really defined the following years and my decision to turn down the commission. Some people take it upon themselves to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to be a certain way, to punish other people. That's a quote from R. Lee Emery in an interview from the 1980s. It's probably one of the most important things you'll ever see, ever look at as a military person. And what he's talking about is, of course, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. And the result of that, of course, with Gomer Pyle, right? Private Pyle, was that Private Pyle was pushed too far. But Private Pyle took it upon himself to take out his rage on the gunny. And he had no place to do so. But the gunny also failed. Because as those keen eyes of you, the keen eyes of you, of course, I didn't really notice this, of course, until it was highlighted to me that when they're at the range, Private Pyle sneaks around for his M14. He sneaks around off the range instead of giving it into the amnesty box or the RSO. So he planned it. He planned to kill Gunny Sergeant. You know, it's this very fragile thing. Developing talent or developing leadership. Everybody thinks they know what it is. There's millionaires as CEOs that had the friends and the backing, and they go on these tours talking to people about how to be a leader. And they rake in the cash. They rake in thousands upon thousands of dollars. Some veterans are guilty of this. And what they sell is a lie. Because true leadership doesn't come from other people. It comes from within oneself. You either choose to rise to that occasion, or you become a victim of it. And then if I were to say it in other words, if you don't make a choice in a situation where you have control of it, then someone else will make that choice for you. And I know one thing. If someone's pointing the barrel at me, I'm going to do what it goddamn takes to survive. But I won't be taking an M60 machine gun to a bunch of reservists. I'll tell you that much. There's more than one way to win a war. And most of them transpire without ever firing a shot. This land is our home. We think it's worth defending. That's where I'm going to stop this review. Because it's not really a review now, is it?